Hi there, and this is going to be your Chapter 1 test review with Ms. Mullins. You need to have your CSA review for Chapter 1 out right now, so we can go ahead and get started checking your answers. So these first three are pretty simple. 1 is 12, 2 is 30, and 3 is 44. Next, we're comparing. Number 4 should be equal to, because the absolute value of -6 is 6, so 6 is equal to 6. Here, we're comparing 0 and 3, and that's going to be less than. And then for number 6, we have 5 and 9 once we solve the absolute values. And that one also will be less than, because 5 is less than 9. We're ordering that right now from least to greatest for number 7. Again, you always want to solve your absolute values first, and then order. The smallest number is -4, and then 0, and then the absolute value of -3, the absolute value of -5, and then 7. Make sure you put it in the original format, format. Number 8, computing just means using that integer song to help us remember the rules. These are different signs, so I'm going to subtract them, and then I keep the sign of the larger value, which is a 6. So 3 is my answer for number 8. Number 9, you can do many different things. What I like to do is pair up all the negatives first, or all the positives. -1 plus -3 is -4. So now I just have 8 plus -4. Different sign subtract. My answer is 4, keeping the sign of the larger value. Number 10 and 11, they're both subtraction. Remember, you got to do keep, change, or whatever you like to use to remember what to do here. So 10 will change to 10 plus +3, which is equal to 13. 11 will change to -9 plus +9, and that one just changes to 0. 12 and 13, you are multiplying. Remember, this is what we just learned this week. Monkey Man, you're multiplying a positive and negative. Your answer is going to be negative. So answer to 12 is -28. Number 13 is a little bit different because you have 3 numbers all at once. -2 times -5, I'm just going to take 2 at a time. That's going to be +10. And then +10 times -3 will be -30 as your answer for number 13. 14, same type of deal here. You're still using Monkey Man. Negative divided by negative will be positive, so my answer to 14 is +3. 15, I'm doing a negative divided by a positive, so my answer is going to stay negative, so that's going to be a -3 for number 15. I didn't get to check on this either, but we'll talk about it in the next slide. Here, still dividing, remembering Monkey Man. It's okay if you want to draw Monkey Man on your test. That's to help you remember. So right when you get that, that's what you can use, but you won't be able to use your notes on your test, okay? 16, you're dividing again. Positive by a negative is a negative, so -2. Here, 17 is just going to be 0. 0 can't be positive or negative. You cannot do this or this. Remember, these are going to be called undefined when you're trying to divide something by 0. So when 0 is in the second position or on the bottom, you cannot divide like that, okay? So 17's answer is 0, but this is just some extra info. You might want to review that before your test because there may be a question like that on there, okay? This is your word problem, one of your word problem questions. You start hiking at an elevation that is 80 meters below base camp. Okay, so I just think about that as -80. You increase your elevation by 42 meters. What is the new elevation with respect to base camp? If you're starting below base camp and then you just increase it by 42, that's going to be -80 plus 42. Okay, different sign subtract, meaning I'm subtracting 80 and 42. Going to have to borrow here. So I get 38, but I need to keep this 38 a negative. 2 reasons. The 80 is the larger value, so it's going to stay negative. And also, with respect to base camp, you didn't make it back to base camp yet because you haven't done the whole entire 80 meters. So that was just kind of maybe a throw off answer there. Just make sure you don't get too tripped up on that. Negative 38 is your answer for number 18. 19. The temperature falls from 3 degrees Celsius to negative 4. What's the difference in these temperatures? Remember on a thermometer, 1, 2, 3, would be 2 degrees, 1 degrees, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Now, a thermometer is kind of like a horizontal number line, okay? If you're starting at positive 3 and going down to negative 4, you just got to count the steps between that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 degrees Celsius is the difference in these temperatures. It's not going to be negative 7 because all it's doing is trying to figure out where on the temperature or the thermometer, how far is 3 from negative 4. Okay, so 7 degrees Celsius is your answer to number 19. 20, this one was a think about it question. Two integers, n and p, have a product of negative 24. Find all the possible sums of n and p, so what would be the largest possible sum of n and p? The first thing you got to do is figure out how would I make a product be equal to negative 24. And you just have to list all the products of negative 24. So here I've listed all the products of making a negative 24. I've got negative 1 times 24, negative 2 times 12, negative 3 times 8, negative 4 times 6. And over here on the right hand side I've also have 1 times negative 24, 2 times negative 12, 3 times negative 8, and 4 times negative 6. I want to know what the largest possible sum of n and p could be. So n and p could be any one of these sets of numbers. The largest possible sum of n and p is going to be 23, because if you look right over here, this example has the largest positive number, and so when you have the largest positive number paired with the smallest negative number, you are going to get the largest sum. Okay, so 23 would be your answer, where n would be equal to negative 1 and p would be equal to 24. Okay. Evaluating for number 21, please make sure you're using order of operations. Nothing in parentheses I can use. Nothing with exponents. So now I'm going on to multiplying and dividing, but I got to do that in order from left to right. Good thing I only have a set of dividing. So all I have to really worry about is that negative 56 divided by 14. That should give you a negative 4. Bring everything else down. And then everything else left is adding. So negative 13 plus negative 4, that's negative 17. And then I have bringing down that plus sign and then the 9. Same sign adding, keep the different sign, subtract. When I subtract them, I'm going to get 8, but I'm going to keep it as a negative 8 because my larger value is negative. Same thing with 22. Again, remembering order of operations. Nothing really in parentheses, nothing with exponents. Here I'm working with multiplication and division, left to right. Multiplying here first, negative 16 times 3, that's going to be negative 48. Bringing everything else down, minus negative 36 divided by 12. The next thing I have is these two things being divided. Negative 36 divided by 12, that's negative 3. Bring down the minus, bring down the negative 48. And then notice it's just a subtraction problem, so I'm done with multiply, divide. I only have subtraction left. Keep, change, change. Negative 48 plus a positive 3 is negative 45. Okay? For these last few, you're just evaluating the expression, which means you're plugging in some of those values. So what I started to do with 23 is just plug in my values. 8 parentheses negative 3 means times, so I'm going to do my multiplication first because that comes first in order of operations. So it's going to give me a negative 24 plus 4 and then different sign, subtract, and then keeping the sign in a larger value. My exact answer will be negative 20. Sorry, that looks kind of weird. It needs to be a 0. Over here with 24, again, plugging in your values. A lot of people forget that when you have two letters besides one another, it means to multiply. So just make sure you did that correctly. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20, because 4 was x, negative 5 was z. So I got negative 20 over negative 2, which just means dividing. Negative 20 divided by negative 2 is a positive 10. This last one just talks about different times of temperature. The first one for number 25 says find the range. Remember, to find the range, you have to do maximum minus the minimum. So the highest number looks like 22, and the lowest number looks like negative 15. So I'm going to do 22 minus negative 15, which will actually keep change to 22 plus positive 15, which is equal to 37. From 26, it says find the change in temperatures from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Well, I went from 10 degrees Fahrenheit down to negative 11 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's just essentially going to be going from 10 to 0, and then from 0 to negative 11. So I'm essentially just adding their absolute values. 10 plus 11 will give me 21. So 21 degrees is my answer for number 26. And then 27, based on 5 given temperatures, what's the mean temperature for the day? Remember, to find the mean or the average, you have to add them all up and then divide by how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you add up the negatives, you get negative 32. When you add up the positives, you get positive 32. So when you add them together, you get 0. So you're essentially doing 0 divided by 5 days, which is still 0 degrees. So the average temperature for those 5 days is 0 degrees. So that's going to conclude your review for today. Make sure you get a chance to review all the extra videos from Chapter 1, and good luck on your test tomorrow.